Hello and welcome to another video in our Parts of Speech series. Today we're introducing and explaining verbs. After watching this video, you will be able to look at a sentence and identify verbs in all their forms, like helping or auxiliary verbs, action verbs, transitive verbs, intransitive verbs, and linking verbs. Let's get started. I'd like us to go back to the heart of language. Right here at the heart of things, we have sounds, and we put those sounds together to make words, and we're going to use those words to form sentences. And now you should all know sentences have two parts. They have a subject and a predicate, and when those two come together to make a sentence, it also forms a complete thought. And it's important to remember that at the heart of the subject and at the heart of the predicate, you have a noun and a verb. And so we're going to talk about those verbs today. A verb is a word used to express action or a state of being. Did you know that verbs actually come in 3 different categories? They could be action, linking, and helping verbs. We're going to start by talking about action verbs. An action verb names a physical or mental action. So, a physical action is something that you can do or sense being done. Here's an example. The teachers partied after school. That's something I can do because I'm a teacher, and it looks something like this. Now, a mental action verb, that's something that you do with your mind. So, a good example of that would be the students learned a lot. And this is what it looks like in your classes, I imagine. There are actually 2 types of action verbs. There are intransitive and transitive. Let's start by talking about transitive verbs. I don't want you to be intimidated by this word transitive. It just means that the action verb does something to a direct object. We haven't talked about direct objects yet, but we'll get there. Here's an easy way to remember transitive verbs. They transfer action. Imagine that you're a bus driver. If you're a bus driver, you're going to transfer people from one place to another. That's what a transitive verb does. It takes the action from one thing to another thing. And by contrast, you've got intransitive verbs, which we'll talk about next. But let's look at an example of a transitive verb first. The bully stole a lunch. That mean old bully. He's the subject of this sentence. And the verb is stole. And the direct object, which is the thing that he stole, well, that's a lunch. So this makes stole a transitive verb because there is a direct object. The bully stole a lunch. Intransitive verbs are actions performed without a direct object. So let's look at that same subject and verb pair. The bully stole from us. We've still got the subject, the bully, and we've still got our same verb, stole, but we no longer have a direct object. It doesn't tell us in this sentence what he stole, just that he stole something from us. And that makes the verb stole in this sentence intransitive. Now there's a simple test you can use to see if a verb is transitive or intransitive. All you need to do is ask a question using the action verb. If there is an answer, it is a transitive verb. Let's try it out. The bully stole what? He stole a lunch. So that works. That makes stole in that sentence a transitive verb. Now let's try it again with our intransitive sentence. The bully stole what? Now if you said from us right there, I am just shaking my head at you. Next, we're going to talk about helping verbs. Helping verbs help the main verb show tense, passivity, emphasis, or conditionality. Together, a main verb and a helping verb make up a verb phrase. Now, sometimes helping verbs are called auxiliary verbs. Those are the exact same thing. So let's look at how a helping verb helps us with tense. Here's the past tense. I was losing. Was is our helping verb and losing is our verb. In the present tense, I am losing. Am is our helping verb, and losing is our main verb. And then in the future tense, I will be losing. Will and be are helping verbs, and losing is our main verb. Each one of these sentences has an underlined portion, and that's the verb phrase. It's the helping verb and the main verb. Now, if you've ever gotten into any trouble like this guy, and you just, oh no, oh, I hate to see that happen to that boat, you're going to want to use the passive voice to deal with a situation like this. So you're going to use a helping verb. Let's check it out. Mistakes were made. So we've added the helping verb were to the action verb made in order to show, hey, the mistakes kind of just happened. It wasn't really my fault. And that's how you use the passive voice to avoid taking the blame for wrecking a boat. You can also use a helping verb to add emphasis. For example, I did play against Blake Griffin. Did is my helping verb. Play is my main verb. Did play is my verb phrase. And I'm using the helping verb did to emphasize that word play. It really did happen. Of course, he does not remember. Does is our helping verb, and it's emphasizing remember. Now you'll notice that the word not is not underlined. It's not a part of our verb phrase because it is not a helping verb. Not is not a helping verb. And you're probably wondering, well, what was it like, Mr. Whitley, when you played against Blake Griffin? Well, I'll tell you, it looked a lot like this. Ooh, let's see that again. Ooh, and I know what you're thinking. Man, he posterized you? No, he didn't, because I was sitting on the bench watching him do that to somebody else. I wasn't that good at basketball. Now, a helping verb can also show conditionality. Like, is something possible? Is it likely going to happen? Let's look at some examples. I might lose my job over these silly videos. Might is our helping verb, and lose is our action verb, and might lose makes our verb phrase. I could get rich for them, though. Could is our helping verb. Get is our main verb, and could get is our verb phrase. Let's look at one more. I must make more of them for your sake. That's why I really do it, folks. Must is our helping verb, and make is our action verb, and must make is our verb phrase. Each of these show possibility, things that might happen or could happen or are possible to happen. Now we're going to talk about linking verbs. Linking verbs connect the subject to a noun, pronoun, or adjective that either identifies or describes the subject. Here's a good noun example. He is a doofus. He is the subject of the sentence. Is our linking verb. And by the way, is always a verb. And then doofus is a noun. Doofus and he are the same thing. So is a linking verb connecting the subject of the sentence to a noun. Let's look at a pronoun example. The boys were the ones in trouble. The boys is our subject, were is our linking verb, and it's connecting the boys as our subject to that pronoun ones, letting us know who is in trouble, those boys, of course. Let's look at an adjective example. The avocado looks delicious. And look at it over there, just looking delicious. Now, avocado is our subject, looks is our linking verb, and it's connecting that adjective delicious back to that avocado. And as you can see on the right, he really does look delicious. He sure can dance, too. Now, the most common linking verbs are forms of to be. For example, am, are, be, been, being, is, was, were. There are some other common linking verbs that are not of the verb form to be. They're a little less common, but they still happen. Appear, grow, seem, stay, become, look, smell, taste, feel, sound. These can act like linking verbs when they connect the subject to a noun, pronoun, or adjective that identifies or describes that subject. Now you got to be careful. These linking verbs are not always going to be linking verbs. They can serve a lot of different purposes. Let's look at a couple examples. He is acting silly. Now, the verb is in the top sentence is a helping verb, and acting is our action verb. So is acting is our verb phrase. Now, in the bottom sentence, he is silly. Is a linking verb. It's connecting he to the adjective silly. Let's look at another example. We grew vegetables. Grew, in this case, is an action verb. It's telling us what we grew. So it would be a transitive verb in this case. Now in the second sentence below that, it says we grew hungry. Hungry is describing us, so grew is a linking verb. We grew hungry. Same word, but the difference is how it is used and what's meant by the sentence. So you got to be careful not to just see a word that you think is a linking verb and automatically call it a linking verb. Look at how it's being used in the sentence. That's it for verbs, so let's wrap up what we've done and go over it all. A verb is a word used to express action or a state of being. There are 3 types of verbs: action, linking, and helping. Action verbs name a physical or mental action, and they can be divided into 2 types: transitive, which shows action being transferred to a direct object, and intransitive, when the action is just happening and there's no direct object in the sentence. Helping verbs, also called auxiliary verbs, help the main verb show tense, passivity, emphasis, or conditionality. The helping verb, or verbs, and the main verb form the verb phrase. Finally, linking verbs. They connect the subject to noun, pronoun, or an adjective, and that identify or describe the subject. There are common linking verbs: am, are, be, been, being, is, was, and were, and there are less common linking verbs: appear, grow, seem, stay, become, look, smell, taste, feel, and sound. That's it for verbs. Good luck finding those verbs, and thanks for watching this video.